and let us all do we can to build a better future. So, Morning Joe, on BSDNC, wants to tell all of you that, hey, maybe Dr. Cornel West is stealing votes and would help Donald Trump become president again. You know, never forget that Morning Blow was super excited to have Trump on his show way back in 2016. He really was in love with Donald Trump. Never forget that Morning Joe, was the biggest cheerleader for Donald Trump. So shout out to Case Study QB. He is wrongly being censored on Phoenix. So he has this awesome fire tweet. So please be sure to share it. Yes, I am calling Twitter Phoenix. I'm combining the bird and the X and calling it Phoenix. And I'm going to make sure that it does trend. I've been seeing the posts on social media now of the new logo design with the X and the blue bird. No, it's got to be a red Phoenix Firebird. And I know I'm right on it. I mean, come on, this is a big brain idea. Put me in the game, coach, for marketing. I got it. So again, huge shout out to Case Study QB. Let's play this video.
George W. Bush would have never been elected in 2000 without Ralph Nader. Donald Trump would have never been elected in 2016 without Jill Stein. I'm wondering in 2024, will we be looking back saying Donald Trump would have never been reelected and continued his assault on American democracy?
We don't have a democracy. We live in a republic, okay? And number two, you know what? Ralph Nader, Ross Perot, Ralph Nader, Dr. Jill Stein, Gary Johnson did nothing wrong. And I'm actually saying this just to trigger people who are angry at how those previous elections turned out, because at the end of the day, the people who voted for Ross Perot voted for him because he earned their vote. The people who voted for Ralph Nader voted for him because he earned their vote. The people who voted for Green Party candidate Dr. Jill Stein, or the people who voted for the Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson, the people who voted for them is because, guess what? Those two candidates earned those votes respectively. So here's the thing. We don't live in a country where popular vote matters. The Electoral College vote matters. So no matter how those previous elections turned out, at the end of the day, none of those independent candidates got an Electoral College vote. So they didn't really shake the election. Now, people are going to say, well, the third-party candidates took away votes for the people I care about because these are key battleground states. Well, maybe we need to reform the way politics is done in this country. And, you know, if you're so upset that your candidate lost, well, maybe it's because your candidate ran a piss-poor campaign. So I'm not going to sympathize with people who are triggered by third-party candidates. If you are so upset at Green Party candidates, Libertarian candidates, or any independent candidates, grow up. Stop crying. Because, you know, every time I hear from you, vote blue, no matter who's sycophants, every time you vote blue, no matter who's sycophants, say, oh, you need to vote Democrat because you're helping out Trump. You know what that's going to do for me? That's going to reinforce my beliefs that I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to vote third party, and I encourage my entire audience to do the exact same thing, because you have to earn our votes. And the Democrats have made it abundantly clear that they don't respect us. Now, I'm not going to vote Republican because I don't respect the Republican Party either. Both parties are inherently corrupt. And I've given numerous examples on the show why both parties are one the same. It's time for something new. But Morning Joe wants to say, oh, no, please vote Democrat because you're going to help Trump. Mika, blink twice if you need help.
Except for the candidacy of, say, Cornel West or a no labels candidate. Now,
No Labels is a corporatist centrist candidate. Okay, they are not mavericks. Stay away from No Labels.
Again, just be clear. I feel like I have to say this. And you talk to anybody No Labels, they will tell you they have one goal, and that's keeping Donald Trump out of the White House. So we'll see what happens there. But let's just talk about Cornel West. How devastating is it if Cornel takes 2, 3, 4% from Joe Biden in 2024?
Well, Joe, I think if he takes that 2 to 3%, it's going to be from the constituencies that we just talked about. And I think that could absolutely make the difference. Donald Trump will be elected or not reelected, I think, based upon no labels and Green Party's Cornel West. I don't think there's any question about his inability to get a majority of the American electorate and a majority of the electoral college.
So, Rev, let's engage on that subject real quick. I did a story this week about Democrats being nervous about exactly this scenario.
Good. Good. Good, Democrats, be nervous, be afraid. I'm going to feed off your fear. In fact, on election night, I'm going to vote third party, and then I'm going to post a selfie of me smiling saying I voted for Dr. Cornel West. And if I can't vote green, I'll vote libertarian. If I can't vote libertarian, guess what? I'll vote independent. And if there's no independent candidate on the ballot, I'm going to write somebody's name in. But I won't be voting Democrat and Republican because I want to live rent-free in the vote blue no matter whose head. And I hope all of you should do the same, because never forget that these jag-off people in corporate media, these vote blue no matter who sycophants, these Democrat pundits kept on talking down to you and bullying you. Tell me, is your life doing great under the Biden-Harris administration? Type 1 for yes, Kit. 3 square meals a day, a full tank of gas, a roof over my head, and job security. I'm living my best life, and everything's rainbows and sunshines. I type 2, no, man, dude, it's a nightmare. How am I going to get past this minute? I don't know how I'm going to survive the day. Dude, it costs $300 just to walk outside.
That it would, because this race is going to be close. So just on the margins, whether it is a no labels candidate, those close to the president are far more concerned about a Cornel West figure or the professor himself stealing away just enough progressive, young votes, black votes, whatever it might be, to tip the scales. Now, most Democratic, even big progressive names like Bernie Sanders and AOC have all said, no, we have to stay with the president. The stakes are too high.
The risk is too great. The stakes are too high. We got to stop Trump. Okay, what are you going to do then? Well, then we got to be pragmatic. Now that we beat the orange boogeyman, we just got to keep things the way they are. You know, on a side note, this is just me being vindictive, but I remember when people were having their meltdowns in 2016 when Trump got elected into office. I'm just going to tell you something that I've shared privately. I kind of want to see people have those meltdowns again. But this time I really want to enjoy it. And I'm actually going to make myself a nice steak dinner just to watch the videos. I'll do like a whole hour event, just watching and eating a nice steak, having maybe a potato or a sweet potato at the side, you know, something delicious just to watch the people cry. And as for a refreshing drink, it will be neoliberal tears.
But we have seen Donald Trump made some inroads with black men in 2020. How do you combine all these things? How worried should the White House be?
Again, message and messenger. The question is, and I know and have a lot of respect for Cornel West. I've not talked to him since the announcement.
Why haven't you? You're on a major platform on BSDNC. You should. You should. But you're not.
I don't know what his strategy is, but I think the way you handle this is, do we, with Donald Trump looming, do we want to make a statement or do we want a government? And I think that you've got to talk.
We have neither. Okay. So I am making my vote clear. I'm going to support a third party candidate because I believe in supporting something far different than what we have before us. I believe in creating a multi-party system. I believe in creating eventually for us to have a direct democracy and for us to remove all political parties as a whole. Because what we currently have doesn't work. Let's look at our also fantastic government and Democrat lawmakers who are doing insider trading. And yes, diehard Republican red voters, Republican politicians are doing the exact same thing Democrat lawmakers are doing too. Insider trading, war profiteering, supporting lobby groups, bailing out Wall Street and the big banks.
Talk to people just that clear. We absolutely need to make statements, but do we do it at the expense of losing government? A government that we see is bent on erasing everything that was won for blacks, for women, for gays since the civil rights movement.
Let's talk about the civil rights movement here real quick. Let's be honest here. The Democrats had years upon years upon years to codify Roe v. Wade. The Democrats had years upon years to do something about student debt in this country. They could have fought harder for Medicare for all. And the Democrats didn't. Why? Because they're just as corrupt as the Republicans, obviously. But also, we don't really have a government. We have people who are owned by the top 1%. They write the rules and laws that benefit their corporate donors, their corporate masters. 95% of the time, these politicians, both Democrat and Republican, in the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives, are on the phone calling their donors for more money so they have enough money to get reelected into office. So they go back into Congress and write legislation to benefit their donors, and they go right back to their office, pick up that phone, and call their donors for more money. That's what your lawmakers are doing. Does that sound like a government that represents the people? Like I said before, it's easy to make Donald Trump the overall bad guy. He is a bad guy, if you want to be clear about it, but he's not the architect of the system. He knew how to manipulate. The dude survived six bankruptcies. And, he's still on his feet. Why? Because Democrat and Republican lawmakers created this financial economic system in which the top 1% can get away with anything. So Trump being the overall threat to the republic, no, he's not. And let's be clear here, Democrats. Trump maintained his base and his following. You think those 81 million people are going to disappear overnight? Every time Trump holds an event, tens of thousands of people show up. He has the overall support of Republican voters for the primary, and the primary hasn't even started yet. He's ahead of his competition. I don't want to say it's over, but it's kind of over. And if Trump walks away from these indictments, you better believe that he's going to get more support from the Republican voting base. It's just a fact.
And I think you take this head on. Rather than ignore it, rather than having something wrong with your body and you don't go to the doctor, you deal with the potential problem. You deal with the issues that are being raised, which may be the reason they're running. And if you deal with the issues, I think that you have people will make a real mature decision. But don't avoid the issues that's being raised.
All right. Reverend Al Sharpton, thank you very much for being on this morning.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. We all have to be afraid. But hang on. Let's pull this up here. Oops. Hold on. Let me take that out here. Let me share this here. Democrats worry young people souring on the party. Democrats are afraid. Oh, no. Democrats are calling for their 2024 candidates to re-engage with young voters amid signs that the critical voting bloc may be distracting, may be distancing itself from the party. Recent polling has found a number of young people who identify as Democrats is on a slight decline, while President Biden has seen wavering support from the Democrat that played a pivotal role in his victory over President Trump in 2020. Adding to the concerns in a recent analysis from John DeLeovolpe, the polling director of the Harvard Kennedy Institute of Politics, who pointed to possible struggles the party faces with voters between 18 and 29. Nearly every sign that made me confident in historic levels of youth participation in 2018, 2020, and 2022 is now flashing red, DeLeovolpe wrote in his analysis of 2024, adding, "The ground is more fertile for voting when youth believe voting makes a tangible difference." All right, hey, Gen Z, in the off chance we got some Gen Z people watching our show, do you really feel that voting for the Democratic Party will make a tangible difference? There will be no wrong answer. Give us your feedback, because at the end of the day, they made a lot of promises to young people, the Democrats did, and they did nothing to follow through. So, Shania Hunt, a 25-year-old Democrat and TikTok influencer. Oh, boy. TikTok. Listen. I've seen what's on TikTok. It is not impressive. You want to know what's going to be happening to humanity? TikTok is the overall death and decline of humanity. An influencer who's running to be the first female Gen Z member of Congress cautioned that Democrats shouldn't take her peers for granted. There's a less of a sense of loyalty to a particular party, I think, and more of a sense of really taking a look at the system and feeling left behind and forgotten. Young people engage with passionate candidates who are going to jump in there and do the dirty work to advocate for our best interests. AOC did the same thing. And guess what? Guess what? No follow through. AOC put on one hell of an act, and that's it. Gen Z especially has felt left down by the political system, leading both to more political mobilization and to less affiliation with established parties, Hunt said. And the demographic needs to be met where they are. You know, Gen Z, just going to give you a heads up. Millennials have been abandoned too. Gen Xers have been abandoned. Boomers have been abandoned. We've all been abandoned by the Democrats. Continuing on. We are one of the most politically mobilized generations in American history, judging by the turnout numbers after the last midterms. And we are in a place now where you have to constantly engage us. And I understand why, you look at the system and the status quo, and a lot of young folks really feel betrayed. Of course. But Hunt, look, if you're going to be running in the Democratic Party, you do realize that they're going to be knocking on your door, telling you to fall in line. Or old hagbag Nancy's going to be staring at you with her soulless eyes like a statue. Continue on, the candidate for California's 45th district said that with her 2024 campaign approach to young voters, we're not playing the game like this is business as usual. Oh, my God. Gen Z, if this is going to be your AOC, don't vote Democrat, okay? We already have 5 years of AOC and we got nothing. So let's pull up this next video here because, again, the Democrats are scared. The Democrats are scared of Dr. Cornel West, as they should be.
His name is Dean Phillips. He's a Democrat from Minnesota. And while he says he's not quite ready to run, he is prepared, but he doesn't have the donors lined up and stuff like that. The Democrats need to have a competition with Joe Biden. Watch him. Here he is.
And I've discovered that everybody in the middle, the massive majority of Americans, are sick of angertainment, telling us we're more divided than we really are. They're sick of members of Congress, state houses, attacking each other instead of attacking problems. They want their families back, their friendships back, their communities back. They want unity. And I want to give voice to them. And then secondly, I want to give voice to Democrats. Democrats are telling me that they want not a coronation, but they want a competition.
You know what? The polls say the same exact thing. So this guy, Dean Phillips, congressman, relatively new, talked about sitting down.
Again, the fact that it's tied like this really says where the state of mind of Democratic voters and where they're at. This man will be the oldest sitting president in U.S. history if he gets reelected. He already exhibits signs of dementia and Alzheimer's and has numerous other health issues. The man has sleep apnea, for Christ's sakes. It's not a stable idea to have somebody with all these ailments leading a global superpower. It's a recipe for disaster. Say it with me, folks. What could possibly go wrong?
Down watching television, said, I got to go help out. I got to help the country. Goes into Congress. He said he loved it. Now he says he wants to be president. And look at these stats to show that maybe the Democratic Party is looking for somebody else.
Yeah, he says he's not yet decided if he's going to run against Joe Biden, but he is encouraging other people to jump in, which would be nice if we saw more people jump in as Democrats. He cited this poll from the New York Times. It says that most people would prefer someone other than Joe Biden. Look at this.
Democrats, too.
45% want to nominate Biden, but 50% want to nominate a different person.
Right. And he says he's meeting with donors, and the number one concern, they're concerned about Joe Biden's age and the best ability to lead going forward. Regarding Cornel West, who's running as a third party, Phillips doesn't like him because he could actually take votes away from Democrats. So also,
again, Dr. Cornel West is not taking votes away. He's not stealing votes. He is earning votes. And I will say the same thing for a libertarian candidate. If, again, when you have maybe Republican pundits saying, oh, the libertarians are taking away votes from the Republican Party. No, they're not. They're earning votes. They're not stealing votes. Third parties are not stealing votes. They're earning the votes. They're earning the votes because when given another option, Americans see the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So the next time you hear somebody say, oh, Dr. Cornel West or anyone in a third party is stealing votes, you politely correct them and say, no, they are earning votes. Why is Dr. Cornel West earning votes? Because, again, he is shining a light on the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party and Joe Biden. Simple. 1, 2, 3. That's it.
Ultimately, he is a Democrat. He wants the Democrats to win, and Cornel West poses an existential threat to a Democrat in the White House.
Now, how should we end this segment? I want to pull up this video here. Shout out to Refuse to Conform, who got these videos and upload them. It's Dr. Cornel West talking about Occupy Wall Street at Oxford Union. Now, I would never see Joe Biden talking like this, or Obama, or AOC, or Bernie. So let's play this awesome video on Phoenix.
And suffering in this world. 1% of the population in America get 81% of the income just a year and a half ago under my dear brother Barack Obama. With his Wall Street government, with his connection to oligarchs and plutocrats. The only reason why the Occupy Wall Street movement took off in the way in which he did, it was the major public response to the class war that's being waged for 30 years against poor and working people, where you get a transfer of wealth from poor and working people to the well-to-do with the shadow banking system. Let's be honest about the billions and billions of dollars that are not accountable in any significant way, that do not generate jobs, don't generate productive value whatsoever, just go into private pockets, and yet workers dealing with stagnating wages, declining wages. How long do you think a fragile experiment in democracy can survive with 1% of the population getting off with that kind of, and I say criminality because market manipulation, insider trading, predatory lending, securities fraud, all of those are crimes. Not one Wall Street banker has even been investigated or prosecuted in any way. Why? Arbitrary rule of power. But it comes from my neighborhood.
Do you see AOC talking like that, or Bernie? You see Biden talking like that? That's important that we remember this happened. And this was way back in 2008. It's an old video. It's an old video. But we can never forget about the role in which Democrats played in allowing the 2008 economic collapse to happen.
Come to the hood, come to the black, brown, or red community, get caught with a crack bag, you go to jail for 4 years. But a banker can get off with all kinds of criminal activity, walking around sipping tea, acting like somehow we don't know, acting as if we were born last night. I was born at night, but not last night. But it's also the sign, eliminate Israel. No, the sign that I saw was eliminate the Israeli occupation. That's something else. That's the signs I saw. That's the signs I saw. Because if you understand the greed inside of all of us, you say our Jewish brothers and sisters are precious, but they'll never have security if the justice of our precious Palestinian brothers and sisters are not intertwined. That's what the conversation was about. That's what that conversation was about. Oh, yeah.
But hold on. Hold on. There's a part 2. After all, we should see it in its full entirety.
Oh, yeah. And we recognize the drones, the dialogue we had about drones, dumping bombs on innocent people. And it was very controversial. We had sustained dialogues about it. Martyrdom is not normative for loving poor people and working people of whatever color. But some will have to die. Some will have to put their bodies on the line. 7,000 people arrested in 112 cities just in the American Empire, raising the issues of democratic accountability. Why is it, Mr. President, you have a killer list every Tuesday and choose who dies? Those are war crimes. Oh, Brother West, why are you so critical of a black president? I love the brother. I'm a Christian. But to engage in that kind of activity makes him a war criminal with a Nobel Peace Prize. And he's going to have to come to deal with that.
Hey, but it's true. Obama bombed more people and has a Nobel Peace Prize. Took us from 2 wars to 7. Got rid of habeas corpus. None of the bankers who caused the 2008 economic collapse to happen have been held accountable. Obama said, we got to look forward, folks. Not backwards, forward, forward.
And to say nothing about poverty, nothing about the new Jim Crow in America. And I know I'm coming to a close. 1 out of 3 black men between 18 and 30 are either in prison, on parole, or on probation. Do you think somehow that's connected to the callousness, the indifference toward the weak and the vulnerable of people growing up in communities that are socially neglected, economically abandoned, and under intense police surveillance? In America, 13% of black youth engage in drug activity. 13% of white brothers and sisters engage in drug activity. 65% of the convictions are black. The criminal justice system itself, mendacious, unfair, in some ways criminal itself. That's what the Occupy Wall Street movement was about. And for white brothers and sisters from the vanilla side of town, to have them take a stand that connects empire, corporate power, and legacies of white supremacy and male supremacy. We're so glad you raised that issue. But also homophobia, also anti-Semitism. We don't put up.
Now, for those of you who have been asking, this video came out January 11th of 2013. That's when this video came out. But I want to pull up this last video as well, because again, this is why Dr. Cornel West will be earning votes, being consistent, unlike the Democrats, unlike AOC, unlike Bernie Sanders.
In prison, on parole, or on probation. Do you think somehow that's connected to the callousness, the indifference toward the weak and the vulnerable of people growing up in communities that are socially neglected, economically abandoned, and under intense police surveillance? In America, 13% of black youth engage in drug activity. 13% of white brothers and sisters engage in drug activity. 65% of the convictions are black. The criminal justice system itself, mendacious, unfair, in some ways criminal itself. That's what the Occupy Wall Street movement was about. And for white brothers and sisters from the vanilla side of town, to have them take a stand that connects empire, corporate power, and legacies of white supremacy and male supremacy. We're so glad you raised that issue. But also homophobia, also anti-Semitism. We don't put up with any anti-Jewish hatred, anti-Arab hatred, anti-Islamic hatred. We have to be morally consistent, preserve some integrity before you die. Ecological catastrophe, all of that dialogue took place, but it was like a jazz quartet more than a military band. There was multiple voices taking place, unable to provide the kind of streamlined harmony for what are the demands. We want to know what you believe. No, we're trying to get our instruments together. We're trying to find our voices. This is the early stages of it. This is the early stages. So I ask those in this chamber to at least give not just the movement a hand. Don't miss the message by being so preoccupied with the messengers. We're talking about the concrete suffering of precious human beings and ways in which they can straighten their backs up to engage in, yes, a fundamental transformation. I do believe in fundamental transformation. Democratic, nonviolent, but fundamental transformation, a transfer of power from oligarchs and plutocrats to those Sly Stone call ordinary people. Please vote for the proposition.
Again, strong words. And it's very clear to me why the Democrats don't want any association with the progressive movement, and why they want to guilt people and bully people into trying to force them to vote for a party that doesn't represent their values. You see, you don't owe the Democratic Party your vote. And if anyone ever tells you that Dr. Cornel West is stealing votes, you correct them and say he has earned those votes. He has earned them, and he's going to get my vote too because he earned it. Simple as that.